All right, I think we can get going here. A couple of people are rolling in. Yeah, welcome everyone to the first lightning event for this term. Short introduction, what is the lightning talks and what it's all about. The lightning events are organized by a group of students in order to help the other students in the graduate life, like it's Yanan, Elhami, and Elena and myself. We are organizing these events and we're trying to enrich grad life with this. And today we're going to talk about how, how like we're trying to pass the knowledge of the former student or like the senior students down to the more junior students. Because I remember like we all thought about there is this moment in the studies where you think, I wish I would have known that like in the first year or the second year. And we're trying to incorporate that today. Talk a little about that. Yeah, so with that, I would like to go around with the panelists and maybe a brief introduction, what year, what research you're doing, and then what are the major things that you think helped you to thrive in the grad school? And maybe start with Ying.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Yan, for introducing us. Hi, everyone. My name is Ying Wang, and I work with Professor Julia Robie. I'm a third-year PhD student. So my research is the broad scope of my research area is software engineering. And specifically, I'm working on identifying and trying to solve the security vulnerabilities or issues in a type of application called microservices. So should I talk more about like the resources or techniques that helped me through the grad school?
Yeah, just go ahead.
Okay, sure. So yeah, I think there are like a few things. So basically, I think a short summary is for me, the grad school is not only gaining knowledge on a specific area, it's also a chance or a journey for you kind of to grow up and to develop all different aspects of yourself. For example, you also need to learn techniques on how to manage your project, how to take lead on the project, how to do time management, and how to build connections with your supervisor and with your lab mates and also other people in different labs or in your department. Yeah, so I think that those are all the things that we need to learn. And yeah, maybe we can talk more about it, I guess, later, like in more details.
Yeah, no, thanks. Yeah, organization is a big one. Don't get lost, for sure. Maybe pass it over to Lazzar, maybe a short intro and yeah, what helped you in grad school so far?
Yeah. So hey everyone, my name is Lazzar. So I did my master's with Dr. Lutz Lampe, and I graduated in 2018. No, 2020. Sorry, 2018. I graduated my undergrad. 2020, I graduated my master's, and I worked in wireless communications for underwater acoustic communication systems. And then currently, I am a PhD student in my second year now, just starting at U of T and doing something completely different. And my PhD is in AI and computational biology now. And, you know, a biggest resource I had, and maybe this is, you know, I not a lot of people might say this, but for me, you know, I had the pleasure of having a supervisor that was constantly available to ask questions. And, you know, maybe I'm not the best to ask in that question, but, you know, from my experience, that was a great resource to have, as well as very good collaborative lab mates. We had coffee breaks and we would discuss research ideas, as well as lunch, apart from just having casual conversations as well. And I found that very helpful for one, professionally and technically discussing ideas, and two, you know, sort of cooling off mentally and having the opportunity to relax and see the other people that are also hard at work with your research are willing to do the same. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Especially, yeah, like having a good vibe with your supervisor is like pays off tons, and having peers around you that support you, it's like, yeah, so worth it. totally second that. And yeah, that's what we're here, like having peers to support each other going through this. And yeah, pass it on to Robie.
Hi, everyone. This is Robie. Thanks, Jan and Yanan and the whole team for organizing this and having me here. So I'm a PhD candidate, and my research is on user mobility management in wireless networks. I just completed my 4th year, and now it's the beginning of my 5th year, a long journey. So here at UBC, being a graduate student, I took advantage of a few things. For example, I initiated several collaborations with other professors from other universities. I started working with some undergrad students on several on a different topic than my own like research topic. Slightly like it has like slight overlap. So I believe like collaboration is a good thing. You learn a lot. And also when you're collaborating with others and you come across a problem and you're like struggling in that problem, so your collaborators also help you like getting out of it. And the other thing is like I always try to set some tighter deadlines because eventually I know I'm not gonna meet those. So like, and then I like set another tighter deadline. So eventually, so finally, like I make myself able to meet like a bit like extended deadline. Yeah. So these are the few things I just like experienced here.
Yeah, there's nothing more productive than the last minute deadline, right? Like you get so much productive. Yeah, totally can see that as well. Yeah. So thanks, guys. I think we're missing one panelist who's joined us a little later. But yeah, we just keep on going with the panels. And yeah, just a housekeeping here. So I forgot that. Anyone who's attending, feel free to just drop a message in the chat if you have any questions. But we're gonna have a Q&A like I think 5:30 or 5:45, and yeah, it's like a pretty easygoing atmosphere. Okay, yeah, so we hear like collaboration and organization is a lot more like peers. Yeah, so anything that you guys that you have a favorite technique to share that really helped you, or like one thing that really was something you wish you would knew when you started the journey? Maybe do a reverse order here with Robie.
So I wish I knew that UBC is really beautiful before coming here. It's like super awesome environment, and I mean you get like so many things here. I didn't know that there are so many different scholarships here at UBC, so I've applied like to a number of scholarships. Yeah, so this is the best thing, I guess. Like UBC is one of the universities in Canada that like gives you like really good scholarships, and the number of scholarships a lot. If you compare with other universities, maybe Lazzar can talk about better at UT, what's happening at UT. So this is one thing. Even like before coming here, I didn't know that I could be able to apply to some new and more scholarships. So this is one thing. And also here, when I was here, when I have been here, so I tried to like go into some student clubs, and I was the president of one student club, and I learned a lot about, especially about the leadership skills and how we manage things. And this leadership experience helps a lot when you are applying for a scholarship, for example. So most of the scholarships in the grad school, they require you to have research excellence, academic excellence, as well as leadership skills. So most of the people, they don't give much value to the leadership abilities that they can build during their stay at the grad school. So this is one thing that is really important, and people may want to focus on that part. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Like there's so much opportunity here to do so many things at UBC, and like the whole leadership for sure. And yeah, like everyone who's just joining for the first year, like UBC is like situated in such a beautiful area, which is good and bad. So it's good to do a lot of things to cool out, but like yeah, don't miss out while you're here. Yeah, and maybe Lazzar can talk about how the scholarships are over in U of T.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that. Thanks, Robbie. I think that's a good point. And I think I agree with what you're saying. From my experience, there was definitely an abundance of scholarship and award opportunities at UBC, especially in the EC department. I know EC gives away, the GSI Awards every year, I believe. And those were great, and I that's not something that U of T does, for instance. I think you've got to put in a lot more work at U of T to find bursaries and smaller awards. Whereas at UBC, and I maybe also, me and Robbie, for myself, Lutz, our supervisor, really tried to get us awards and scholarships whenever we could. And again, having the privilege of having a really good supervisor who was there for you all the time was really great. But that's something that I would take advantage of as much as you can at UBC. It really does a good job of facilitating finding awards for you. And also I agree, campus is absolutely gorgeous, and the weather allows you to be outside really long during the year, given when it rains, apart from that, but especially in the spring, it's absolutely beautiful. But apart to answer this question for myself, a big thing for me that I learned now doing my PhD that I wish I kind of knew during my master's is how easy it is to just start research project collaborations with fellow lab mates. And I find that especially beneficial now because you can be working on multiple projects, not necessarily leading them, but working on them and collaborating on them with less and less effort because you're part of a team working on that project rather than just being by yourself on a project. And that is good for multiple reasons. You get more exposure to different technical things. Depending on the project you're working on, as well as obviously, net goal being you could potentially get your name on a different publication and working on that, which is great, showcasing what you've learned in your experience. And all it starts is by asking a simple question or having a conversation over a coffee with a fellow lab mate, which I had many of those, but, I think it was too in tune to my own research and my master's thesis that I didn't really try to, explore outside of that. And that's something I definitely recommend to think about, especially if you have a course with the course project, utilize that to push beyond just doing the course at the bare minimum, the course project at bare minimum, and work with a fellow partner to push it to something that's more a finished product that you can potentially have in a conference paper, for instance. And, that's one thing I definitely learned towards the end of my master's and the start of my PhD that I think would be beneficial to grad students starting out.
Absolutely. There's two great things. I think we see lots of awards, but you basically have to apply before you accept the offer to UBC because everything deadlines are September. So for the first years, watch out for the emails that come in you. I know it's a lot, but those things have tight deadlines and they're coming up in September and October. So certainly apply for that. And networking, you come to a great university, there's great people around you. If you have a course or something, just go for coffee or find some friends here. And you certainly going to sure they're going to be somewhere in 10 years, which is going to be great to have those networks either on LinkedIn or on, just have those research collaborations, which is absolutely fantastic. Yeah, totally second that. Ying, what do you think?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, especially the part actually about the course project that can be developed further into a research project that Lazzar mentioned, because that actually happened to me. At the beginning, when I just joined UBC, I'm in the program of Master of Engineering, and I took a course with my current supervisor and did kind of a project in that course. And later on, we kind of developed that project into a more serious research project and had a publication from it. That's kind of the beginning of my research journey. So I think that's totally worth it. And yeah, it's actually a very good, opportunity and also a way to get into research when you, when you are just a starter. And also about connections, I think that's great. And actually for people maybe like me who are a little bit introvert, and it's not that easy to start casual conversation with anyone on the hallway. So one resource that I can remember, especially for new PhD student is, before I remember is, I couldn't come up with the details now, but it shouldn't be like the university level postgraduate community or department. They organize like events for fresh, like new PhD students, like you meet every month or what. So that is also some chance for you to meet like new people and to get know each other, because you also have like more common topics maybe. And also apart from that resource, something that I also didn't know is there are like a lot more resources provided by UBC, like far more than what we see in our department. For example, you can take courses in other departments. And for me, computer science is also like a large portion that is close to what I'm studying or what my research is about. And they provided a lot of good courses. And also, for example, math or statistics, all those departments, like I have some lab mates or friends taking courses from. And also apart from the courses, some other resources like seminars or writing workshops or different like talks telling you how to make use of the resources provided by, for example, the libraries. And also those are all good resources that people can also go look at and to see if they are useful for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Like those courses offered or seminars by G plus PS. I think Jackie Brinkman is sending out those emails. If you get any emails from her, like keep an eye out. Those workshops are so worth it. Yeah. And yeah, keep the collaboration open. And yeah, if you're an introvert or feel like you are, there's also a couple of courses on that here at UBC. Networking is so important. If you go to conferences, so to practice that in a classroom setting is certainly, I would recommend it. But the least thing you can do is, if you in a Zoom setting like this, just write down the names and find the people on LinkedIn, and then just connect there. It's a very low-key entrance to get to know each other. Yeah, I just see we have a final panelist here. Hi, Mega. Thanks for coming. Yeah, we're just going around with introduction, and maybe you want to talk a little bit about yourself. What's your name? What's your year? What are you researching on? Just briefly, and what are the things that really helped you here at UBC?
So hi everyone. Sorry about being late. It's like a lot of traffic here in New York. So I'm in New York right now. So I'm a 5th year PhD student now at ECE, UBC. I'm in robotics and control lab. And so what my PhD is on, I am working on surgical robotics, but specifically I have built this augmented reality system for a surgical robot. So if you want to understand it, it's like wearing a glass and just seeing inside someone's body. So it's like a see-through vision, but then the interface is not like your glasses, but the interface is the surgical robot. And why am I doing that? Because I want surgeons to see the tumors and things like that, even before opening up the body. So that's what my PhD is in. And so right now I'm on a student exchange in New York University, and that's where I am right now. Yeah, so that's about me.
Yeah, what helped you to strive at UBC? What are the things that really helped, or things that you wish you would know as a first year PhD student?
Yeah, so it's tough. Like I think like PhD was not like a smooth ride for me. So the things that I should have known, yeah, that diet is important, sleep is important. Like it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. So health is really important. So I run almost like alternate days, and then I bike a lot. Health is important. I eat good food, like I eat a lot of green veggies, and my sleep has improved. My emotional health has improved. I had anxiety problem until like 2nd year of PhD, and I was diagnosed with a lot of deficiencies like iron deficiency, magnesium deficiency. I was just working a lot. So I would say, I wish I knew this. And then I wish I had made more connections, as in like my support system. Everyone is working in our lab, like, you know, nobody really talks to like each other. But I find it so important to like take initiative and talk to your lab mates or make friends, you know. people are super nice. Like, but then I was so immersed in work initially. Yeah, so these are the things I wish I knew.
Yeah, absolutely. Like taking care of your like life support system as a human body and mentally and like physically is super important. There's a whole month dedicated from UBC on that in November, and we're gonna have an event on that as well. Yeah, it's super important. And yeah, it came up quite a bit that we have that we kind of like our own tunnel and feel like we're fighting the whole thing by ourselves. There's so many awesome people around us that are just happy to chat and help. So that's totally a shout out to all you guys. If you start your journey right now, connect with your lab mates or just people in the hallway, just chat with them. I know we all have that sense of like rushing through things and getting things done, but like, yeah, it's a long journey. And
I also want to add one more thing.
yeah.
So like when I was ignoring all these things in my head, I was like, okay, sure, like I'll do it tomorrow because like, this is important, work is important. But honestly, my work started to get affected. So if I don't take care of this, like the work will be affected. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I'm just gonna close my window here. All right. Yeah, awesome. Thanks so much for all your input. There's a couple questions that we usually have around TAing. So like maybe you guys could share what are your TA experiences and any tips or opportunities or managing the TA and the research kind of workload. Maybe start now with Robie.
Yeah, thanks, Jen. So I have some experience in TAing different courses, and when you are TAing, it's always good to like TA in different courses so you can get an exposure like and some basic understanding of all the courses. So sometimes while doing research, sometimes we forget basics. So it's always good to like refresh your basics, and it's always good to like have some experience in different environments. For example, in the first few years, I was doing a statistic or probability based course, and then I moved to C++, and now I'm just teaching Python. So I'm also learning. So TA-ship is a great learning experience. You learn a lot of things. You build some confidence, and you interact with the students. Sometimes some questions you cannot think of, but when students ask, you really try to focus on those things. And this actually improves your like teaching skills as well as your knowledge as well. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you're gonna be surprised how many questions you have about a resistor, like things like that from the students. So it certainly like reinforces all your knowledge, and is a great way for leadership and your teaching capabilities. And UBC also is paying pretty well. Okay, what's your point on that, Ying?
All right. So for TAing, I don't have too much experience around that. But yeah, I totally agree with what Ravi says. And also for selection, like what courses to TA. So basically for me, the strategies are like two parts. One is either some course that you have ever taken, so you're familiar with how the course is structured and what are the materials, so that could like save you some time to get familiar with the course, and also you'll feel comfortable like teaching others for that course because you have like experienced the whole process. And the other consideration that I have is maybe something close to your research area, so that could also help you, like for example, like what Rabbi mentioned, like remembering what you used to know but you might forgot along this way. So yeah, that's basically the strategy I'm using. And also I think for balancing the workload between your research and your TAing, like one basic thing that I have been doing, at least for my experiences, is to note down or keep track of how much time you spend on TAing, because it's very easy for me at least to forget, like, okay, I'm already putting a lot of time maybe on TAing, and when I see all the numbers that I have noted, and then I will realize that, okay, maybe I'm putting too much time, and this is maybe the point that I need to like put more energy back to my research. So yeah.
Yeah, certainly. It's very easy to get slip into Aing and like you have students that ask questions and questions like, yeah, and you like want to help them, but you're like, well, it's like, I don't know, like you have only 80 hours this whole term, and then yeah, it really, you need to take careful because the students, yeah, they take advantage if you don't be careful. But overall, students are really nice. Yeah, like Lazzar, do you have any TA experience?
Yeah, so well, firstly, I just want to say I completely agree with what Robbie originally said about TAing multiple different courses to gain experience. I think TAing is a great way to learn a topic or master a topic when you teach it, and that's something I wish I did more. So my experience, since I did my undergrad at UBC and EC as well, I started TAing in third year for a microarchitecture course, which had nothing to do with what my master's research was in, but I ended up I TA'd that for 4 years and both 2 years in my master's as well. And in that regard, I was very familiar with the content, which made my work in the TA-ship very streamlined because I was very familiar with the course. And that also made it very easy to manage workload because you sort of every year you would have an expectation of how much hours certain things would take. So, you know, there's two sides of this story. On one hand, in my opinion, you have the opportunity to TA something that you can also learn, you know, be a little comfortable with it, but, you know, something that incites interest, and then you're able to learn the material as well. But that might take more time on your part. But on the other hand, if you TA something you're more comfortable with, you could, you know, potentially have a more streamlined schedule in that sense and less workload. So I think those are those two perspectives. And also I did TA a course. I TA'd another course. What was it? It was electromagnetic fields and waves, which I had no experience. I took the class in undergrad and I did okay. So I decided to TA with. So I had to refresh a lot of material for that and relearn it. And that took a little more time to be prepared to answer questions. But I'm glad I did that in this case because, you know, you can relearn something that you may be interested in. But yeah, that's overall my experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Like if you have any courses that you took and you like them, then as an offer on TA, it's certainly easy to settle over to take over, and yeah, it certainly helps you to, you know, get more confident in that context, or you like explore something else and you get to learn. Great things. Yeah, Mega, do you have any TA experience?
Yeah, I did TA one course, but then I think I need to take tips from you guys. I was not very good at it, so I'll just not share anything. Like I was unable to handle it. Like it was too much for me, and then I didn't TA again. It's like it's too much.
Yeah, like it certainly gets a lot input. Like I have also quite some bit 4 years of TAing now, and yeah, like TAing can get overwhelming in the beginning if you don't know how to handle the students and the workload. But as soon as you kind of know when you're teaching the same course over, you kind of know how the course is going to flow and how you're gonna be energy optimized through it. But yeah, certainly you need to have that balance. Otherwise, your research will take a toll on that.
Can I also add the thing
Sure.
that came to my mind? It's also very, what I've noticed from my experience, dependent by the professor also that you're TAing for. I had a professor that was very organized for this course I TA'd for most of my years. And that's why that was very easy and streamlined. And he was very stringent that no TA works over the hours that they were allocated. Whereas I've also had an experience with a TA that would text me at 9 p.m. on a Friday night to do something. And I'm like, sorry, what? So, you know, it's also dependent on who you TA for. And that's not to scare anybody. I'm just saying, you know, that also makes a difference, and that's kind of out of your control in some senses. So, you know, when you get a TA offer, also, you know, if you interview with the professor, have questions ready in that regard.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's also, if you do a TA with UBC, you're also in a union. Like some people forget about that. And if there's any issues coming up, the union they have lawyers and everything. And, I mean, it's really the worst case here, but like they're fighting every 2 years for you to get you more money and to get you some vacation pay. So that's really good. And yeah, just talk to your supervisor or like to the instructor and see how it goes, and what kind of sense of vibe you get from the instructor. And also sometimes you have students that are just perfect and like they know everything, and then you have students from hell. That happens as well. So that's, yeah, you're not protected from that.
I just want to add something, Jan.
Yeah.
So there is a training usually conducted like twice a year, which is like TA training. They actually tell you most of the things and most of the tools that you can use while doing your TA-ship. They talk about your rights, the union-related things, if you have any conflict with a professor. So it's really good to attend it, no matter you plan to do TA or not. So I would recommend, I mean, you should attend it.
Yeah, that is it's also mandatory. If you take a TA offer, you need to take that course. And there's also one thing I can recommend if you have TA experience or like you're a little bit shy about it. There is a course called the Instructional Skills Workshop, which is super helpful. I took it before even doing any TA, and then it just prepares you to what to expect and how to like conduct education post-secondary. But like most people would recommend, I recommend it as well, that you do some TA so you kind of get a sense, like first-hand experience, and then you do the ISW, because then you can really deepen and have some first-hand experience there as well. And that is offered by the department. And yeah, I took it up, but I can share with you in the chat later. Yeah, switching gears here. Another common thing that we are still dealing with is work-life balance in the hybrid and remote kind of work environment. And now we're all in Zoom. We would likely to have those events this year in person, but still Zoom is in our lives. So yeah, how was the transition for everyone, or like how do people keep like effective and efficient with research in the scenario where you are working from home or in the lab, or like, yeah, what does it take from that? Maybe start with Mega.
Yeah, I know like COVID was bad for so many people, and it still might be bad, but then I was lucky. Like it was a very refreshing break for me. So how I managed like this work life, I think the transition was, I mean, the demarcation was not very strict. Like sometimes I was doing a lot of research, and sometimes it was very hard to feel motivated. Yeah, but otherwise, I would say whenever I was feeling, for example, stressed, I was just going out for a walk. Yeah, so that was my sort of coping strategy. And then I also, like, I was connecting a lot with my family and friends over Zoom and things like that. So it just worked out well. But yeah, the demarcation wasn't so strict for me, really. But then I was okay with it. Yeah, I was feeling productive. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally second that. Like for me, it was a break as well, because I could not do research on the bench. So I need to like do some math and some simulations on my machine. So that was great, but I certainly need to, stay sane, get outside and do all the better activities. I was really surprised how I missed commuting, in terms of that it just gives you the break between work and actually fun and like relaxation. Like Ying, what's your hybrid approach?
Right. So I'm on one side, I think I'm lucky because my experiment and research overall doesn't like rely on me physically being in the lab, so I can still like do my work from basically anywhere with internet. But also like to be honest, I'm also experiencing this like decrease in productivity and all. And actually it's pretty interesting that I watched a talk recently given by Daphne Ling, like a neuroscience student, actually from UBC. It's published on Nature, I think this year. It's a webcast. So basically the talk is saying that don't expect yourself to be as productive as you used to be like before the pandemic, because that's not realistic. And basically a lot of people are experiencing this like productivity drop down, and it's important to accept that fact and also say that's okay to be not as productive as before. So basically for me, one important thing is to change the mindset, like not to force myself to be productive or not question myself why you are not as productive as before. So that's the first part. And the second part is now though the lab is open, but since like the AC is too cold for me, so I'm not really used to like being in lab during summer. But also working from home all the time also doesn't work for me. So approach that I'm trying recently is maybe I will spend like half of my day every day in a coffee shop like nearby my place when I feel that I couldn't work at home. So yeah, I think that helps a little bit. And also a third thing is, I think it's important like to keep a fixed routine, because like working from home it's very easy that you just fill your entire day from waking up till going to sleep with work, and you may feel that you are supposed to be working because you just have your laptop with you and everything is ready for you to work. But I feel it's actually better if you can just take some time off, let's say keep a fixed routine and saying, okay, my day for work just finished at some time. And then after that, I will keep my laptop closed, or I will keep it on, but I will stop working and do something like have some life. So that will help you relax and then recover and energize and then go back to the work on the second day. So yeah, that's for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Keep like a healthy routine in check really helps. Like it's, I think Mega mentioned it. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. So you gotta like recharge your batteries and then take it the next day sometimes. Yeah, absolutely. Like how was the transition for you, Lazzar?
Yeah, so this is, I like this question because I think this is something I personally struggled with. So I finished my master's remotely. So that wasn't as bad because everything was sort of sorted out. It was inconvenient in a sense. I didn't really much like it, but that wasn't the worst of it. And then I had sort of a month off before I started my PhD. And then I started my PhD fully remotely. And first year was mostly courses. And I think this is where things got difficult for me. And as Ying Wang said, I think the biggest thing that I found, for a while I couldn't do this, but once I could, going to coffee shops, for instance, in the morning or in the afternoon, segment your day, that helped a lot for me doing some work there. Otherwise, it was very easy to get lost in, separating your workspace and your work life from your home and personal life. And that was a challenge because I would wake up in the morning and I would just go straight to my laptop before breakfast to start working, which isn't healthy. And then, without a routine, and that's another big thing, set up a routine. But, I would start and I'd work maybe 12 hours, which I don't usually do because I felt guilty when I'm, sitting at home and I could be working, because technically that's your workspace now, that I'm not working when you could be working and there's nothing better to do in mid-COVID. And essentially that's just, don't do that. You don't need to do that. And from my personal experience, it was not great on mental health. It's not fun. And there's no loss in just taking a break. And one big piece of advice I actually got a few months back that I thought was very helpful, and I think any grad student should utilize it, is every day set, in your head, set a goal, for a small goal, a daily goal of what you want to get done in that day that is realizable in that time frame. And if it so happens to be that it takes you 3 hours or 4 hours or 2 hours to do it, which is half a work day, and you achieve it, you've achieved that goal. And if you want to stop. Don't work more. If you feel that you have the energy to keep working and set another goal, by all means, go for it. And I found that very helpful. And, I haven't had to utilize it fully, but, in a day where you feel like, oh no, I'm not being very productive because I'm stuck at home and it's hard. I found that it helps a lot to just, say stop at 2 p.m. and go for a run or go outside for a walk or something like that. And on top of that, what Ying said about routine, I think that's a big one. And I think the biggest part is in the morning. maybe set a separation, like an hour separation between waking up and starting to work in any way that you can. And for me, that was in about May, I got really over the online and the hybrid work life. So I just decided to start running in the mornings before work every morning. And that helped me a lot personally. And I think Vancouver is very accessible to that kind of thing, going outside. I think it's not that cold. So I think that's very beneficial in setting up a routine. But that's my biggest advice and experience, are those points.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the temperature depends where you're coming from, but yeah, certainly, like a routine is, I mean, it's just like, it seems so simple, but it pays off so big. And those routines are pretty unique to anyone. Like some people, you know, go being active, being sport, or some people say, okay, now shut off electronics, just read a book or go for a walk or call friends. So that's something you're going to figure out, and probably most people know where to perform best. But it's just, yeah, keep yourself in check. Like if you're working too much, your quality of work will certainly suffer in the long run. Yeah, Robie, what's your secret sauce for your hybrid remote life?
Yeah, so in the beginning, I had struggled a lot, as Lazzar said. So during the day, I'm mostly doing different stuff. And then at night, I'm just like working all night until 4 a.m. So it was, in the beginning, it was hard to like make a balance between the work life and the household stuff. But by the time things got better, and it gives you flexibility, but it depends. I mean, if you want to like take advantage of that flexibility or not. So things got better, and now I have a schedule. So I usually try to follow that schedule, and this is what you can do in a hybrid setting. Some students are going to the lab right now, but I'm still working from home while I'm living on campus, because now I find it easier to work from home because commuting takes some time. I mean, when you go out, it takes some time, and then you come back and, you know, preparing lunch, so many things. But I find it convenient to work from home.
Yeah, absolutely. Like people have to, like, right now find their balance where they're gonna work from home or at the lab. We're also going back in, but like, yeah, some people like to stay home. Some people don't want to stay home. They'd rather go to lab, have some more focused area. But yeah, I think we have the major topics covered for this session here. I'll just look at the chat right now. Are there any questions from that we need to address here, or anyone has from the viewers here or from the audience that would like to ask something to the panelists? Feel free to either unmute yourself and just chat, or just write it in the chat, type it in there. Yeah, happy to take some questions here. I think I got one message here, private, asking about the email conferences. Like there is a bunch of newsletters that are going to get flooded at you from the ECE, from G plus PS, and certainly subscribe to everything that you get, and then figure out what you are referring, like what is more useful for you. For me, there was all the workshops by G and Grad post studies, I think is the word. Okay, are there any other questions?
Oh, hi. Do you mind if I can add like a couple of few notes I had about? So usually, especially in your first and second year, as like all the panelists and Jan said, keep checking on your email. Don't like pass them. You're gonna find very useful workshops, very useful things. And you're gonna, I'm not saying everything is useful. Like some things are actually not that okay, but you're gonna learn over time what is actually useful and what is to be skipped. And like later in years, you're gonna be know which emails to skip and which email to really read. So what I can say, for example, about productivity, I attended like a session that was organized by residents about personal motivation, and it talked about techniques about how to get yourself focused on a task, something similar to what Lazzar said about like set a goal and work on it. They said about something called the 5-minute rule. Say I'm gonna work for 5 minutes, if you end up working more, and so on, multiple techniques. Something like coming up with something called not to-do list. Like in the coming this time, I will not like look at phone or these things. So for a very short period of time, like 5 minutes to 10 minutes, and this already gets you into the mood of working. And I learned this from a session that's not from graduate plus postdoctoral studies, G plus PS, which organize a lot of workshops. They have a very useful one-day workshop about time management. I don't know if they're offering it or not, but just go to the graduate and postdoctoral study and you're gonna find many events about they announce about. Of course, look at the ECE newsletter. Again, many things may not be relevant, but many things are very useful and bad to miss. The career office, they have workshops as well about like building your resume, a little bit about facing your work. It's a good to listen to. In addition to what other panelists shared about instructional skills workshop and TA training. So look at PhD as something like it's an investment. You learn many things. You may not end up using every single thing of them, but you actually don't know which is the thing that's gonna turn out to be most useful. So keep learning things and so on. Another resource I liked as well is joining intramural leagues at recreational leagues as well. It's very useful to get yourself out, like to be committed to a league, even a third tier or just for fun on Sundays, for example. It's very, I like this. I discovered it in my second or third year, joined a couple of soccer teams with my friends and the department as well. It was really useful. So this is like my a little bit of notes that I had in mind when I listened to the panelists and Jan as well. And as well in the lightning talks, we have a YouTube channel where we record these events. The recordings are uploaded there. It's actually as well divided into smaller videos as well, so you can have a look at that and look at our previous events. They're very useful videos right there. I can leave the link in the chat as well.
Yeah, thanks, Ami. Yeah, it's certainly the PhD is like, yeah, if you treat it like an investment, I rather say like what you put in, you get out. Like if there's lots of things to do, to explore. But yeah, I also don't get. I mean, I personally got lost into so many things because I was participating in too many things. So there's also this trap there. So be careful. But yeah, overall, you're at a great space. It's very awesome to be here. Any questions or comments you would like to add?
Also, can I just working off this? One big thing that I also find beneficial that no one really tells you is go to, and this sort of works off of pay attention to your emails. Go to talks. Departments will organize guest speakers from other schools that are doing research potentially in your domain. And I find that very beneficial for idea generation, for instance, and you get information about a certain topic as a primary source, and they'll have citations in their presentations, and you can go take notes and look into those papers that they cite, and they could be very relevant to your research. And on top of that, I was an EC, but also got onto the computer science mailing list somehow because I took a class, I think. But if you can get on other mailing lists, like in the computer science department or the stats department or the math department, they'll have talks in their departments that could be very beneficial. And these disciplines are now very multidisciplinary. They're all intertwined in with EC. So I think it's very beneficial, as well as taking classes in these departments. So that's something that you're never really told, but I think is really good to know.
Yeah, absolutely. Like if you're interested in other field, like always like cross-pollination or taking classes outside your subject is totally helpful in terms of like to get new ideas or get you exposed to new stuff. It's also super interesting things, and yeah, you get on those mailing lists. And yeah, I was I enjoyed a couple of talks from people from Google coming over, talk about computer science. I understood like 50% of the things they talked about, but you get the idea. And it was good to ask some questions there. And I also was joining a talk on battery chemistry. It was absolutely outside my wheelhouse, but it's totally interesting to see how these guys, what they think is amazing, and yeah, so you totally take benefit of that. And yeah, taking courses outside the department is a big one. I really enjoyed a couple courses out there. Yeah, are there any other comments?
Yeah, I want to share two things. Yeah, it might be helpful for someone. So during my research in like my first 2 years, like this is very research specific, like writing manuscripts. So I would say like while writing manuscripts or like while implementing my research, I used to like read papers and then just implement and then submit my paper. So for me, it was like writing the paper and I was done. But in my third year and in my fourth year, I realized that I spent a lot more time in the revision, like getting feedback from colleagues, getting like feedback from my supervisor. And that like drastically improved my manuscript or my research. And then I got like some awards. And I found like everything was possible because I was revising or like taking feedback. So this I'm sharing because like I was surprised that how much feedback matters. As a beginner, I was like, if I have implemented something and I'm done. But then feedback is a very important part in research. And then second thing, like in my first year, I was not very confident in speaking, but then I improved because I like took initiative and I participated in a lot of events where I had to talk. So I would say, yeah, it is important part of, I mean, that depends on your discipline as well. Like maybe you don't present in conferences, but then I was very shy, like to present in conferences. But after like giving these lab tours to like other students, explaining my research to other people, like it helped immensely. Now I find it easy to explain my research to others. I'm very confident that way. So I'm just sharing since it can help someone. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Like there's a book called Even a Geek Can Speak, which is recommended to me, and it's true. Like that, it certainly pays off. If you're able to convey your research, and especially if you have those. I mean, if we used to have those sessions at the beginning of the term where the grad students would like get showed every lab, and you can like talk like 2 minutes about your research, and that really helps to boost their confidence. And yeah, really take all the reviews and advice serious. Really just makes it better, your research and your way you're writing. Yeah, the final 2 questions here. Is there, like, maybe you can quickly go around and share what was your favorite course you took at UBC? Anyone has a course in mind? Just go ahead. I was gonna volunteer someone.
I can go first, if no one else will. I really liked the Introduction to Machine Learning course in the computer science department. I think EC offers that now, right? I think Lutz Lampe teaches a course in EC now, I believe. So you can take that one too. I think it's based off of the computer science course. But for anyone that's interested in machine learning, I would definitely recommend. The profs are phenomenal. Lutz is great. The profs in the computer science department were top notch, and it was a great course in general.
Yeah, super cool machine learning. We also had a workshop at the ECGSA about deep learning. So yeah, certainly that's cool as well. Yeah, what about you, Robbie? You had a favorite course?
Yeah, so my research was mostly on mathematical modeling. So the good thing about UBC is like you can take so many courses from other departments. So I took one course from the maths department, Math 441, and I really liked it, and I found it very helpful. So this is like an advice. You can always explore different courses in other departments, and those like courses can really help you in your research. So, but one thing I noticed that whenever you're going out of your department to take courses, usually like even the 400 level courses are really hard. So this is one of the suggestions I got from my supervisor, Lutz Lampe. So he advised me to take like a 400 level maths course instead of 500 level maths course in the math department. And I found it like a good advice, as like when I attended, the difficulty level was even high in 400 level. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like it's surprisingly how little you know, especially as you step out of your bubble. There's also one hint of advice here, like there's undergrad course selection advisors in every department. So if you like think, oh, you want to have something on stats, but you don't know which of the 400 different stats courses you want to attend, you can send them an email saying like, hey, I'm interested in like, I don't know, like regression models or something that you're interested in, and they can pinpoint you to the courses that cover those things. That was something that really helped to me as well. Yeah, Ying, you had a favorite course?
Right. Actually, I want to mention two courses because I haven't taken like too many courses for a while. So one course is that I took, I guess, like recently after pandemic, is the formal application course from the CS department. Is CPSC 513, I think, by Professor Alan Hu. So I kind of like the material itself is very useful to me, like to get to know the formal application area. And also I like the atmosphere of the course, like the instructor is very inspiring and encouraging, like so overall, yeah, I think it's a nice course to take. And the second one is a course of that I took before, and I mentioned earlier, like where I started my research journey, but I don't know. It's a course by my supervisor, Professor Julia Robie, on mobile analysis and security, but I'm not sure if it's like still on in the following terms, but it's a pretty interesting course also, like if you guys are interested in Android overall, so you can check it out.
Yeah, like certainly talk to your supervisor. They usually have a sense what also might fit your research needs in terms of selection. Mega, I see you posting quite a bit of the chat. You want to comment on those courses you mentioned there?
Sorry, that's me.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I didn't take a lot of courses because I didn't have to, like I had a lot of credits already. But then out of interest, I took this machine learning. I loved it. And then I also took like economics for entrepreneurs in Sorder. Oh my God, like so fascinating. So it was also nice. Then I took like one human computer interaction one. Oh, again, loved it. Like so interactive. Yeah.
Yeah, really like those courses outside of engineering are really refreshing to me because they just have a very different teaching style. Like I find that engineering is say, okay, they push you to a boundary where, okay, you can move forward, and now we're going to teach you how to overcome this obstacle, where you have some more discussion-based courses are a lot different. Yeah, like check out the starter ones. There's cool things where you can actually build your own startup or a simulated startup with you. That's a cool one for starters. And I took also one in Masters of Engineering Leadership for lifecycle assessment for engineers. That was also pretty awesome. I highly recommend. I think it's CEN 550. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Final round of questions. Yeah, if you could pick one advice, what you would give to yourself starting the PhD or like your master's, like what would be that advice? Maybe Robie, you want to start giving yourself advice?
Yeah, so I would advise everyone to look into several things, like your research is important, but some other things are also important because your mental health is important as well. So try to get involved into some activities in the clubs or even with your lab mates. So this is one advice. You can make new friends, and the life is going to be easier for you, and it will be less stressful because, like, if for example, if you are doing PhD, it's a stressful journey. So you should have some good activities to release your stress and to keep yourself energetic. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. And what would your advice to yourself, Ying, be your first year?
Yeah, I think for me, apart from what Robby just mentioned, which is a very important piece for me also. So another thing I want to mention to myself is manage your expectations of yourself. So be realistic and don't get too upset when things don't work out or when you don't meet your own expectations on what should have been done, and stop questioning yourself, why didn't I do it better, or why am I not able to make it? Yeah, everything will be all right in the end. So so don't get too upset. And yeah, I think one important lesson, like for my PhD journey so far, is to manage and set up realistic expectations. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember when I was starting my PhD, I think the president gave a speech and said, like, yeah, if you made it to this point, you're all good. Like now you just sit down, or like you gotta do some work, but like don't stress out, you're gonna like succeed in your studies. I thought that was a very powerful statement. And yeah, I mean, we keep talking about courses and workshops here, but like this just rings my bell saying like, yeah, there's courses here on perfectionism and on imposter syndromes. So those things exist, those things are real, and they're like highly concentrated in the academic environment. Then feel like, please, like if you, I highly recommend taking those courses if you think that's something you want to work on. Personally, I really needed to like kill my own perfectionist in order to like survive PhD. Totally.
Yeah, and sorry, just to add a little bit more to that, I think it's also like very common. I mean, the imposter syndrome, right? Like everyone feels, maybe a lot of people are feeling like they're not incapable of being into this university or doing the research that they are doing. So I think that's a very common topic, and I even heard like faculty having that issue. So and I think a lot of people are suffering from like all those different kind of emotions, and I really appreciate, like Micah mentioned before, about the depression related stuff. So I think also another important piece of information is actually most people suffer from this at some point of time during their PhD studies or even master studies. So when you're also experiencing some like emotional issues like that, don't feel alone or don't feel like you are weak, because it's a very common issue and we can talk about it openly. And you should seek support when you are feeling low, because you are not alone. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, yeah, thanks, Mega, for sharing that. And yeah, I think it's a very important point here. Like, lots of people, I mean, Yanan and Alami talked about this quite often. Like, you think you're struggling and like and things are not working out, and everyone else is just doing perfectly and they have no issues. Like, forget it. Like, everyone is riding the struggle bus at some point, and it's yeah. Please feel free to like reach out to your colleagues about this. The UBC has plenty of resources for mental health, so you don't feel like talking to your lab mates or to your supervisor, just like you can just call for free and talk to a psychologist. So yeah, it's something I wish I would just did earlier in my PhD. Yeah, it really helps. Okay, then I'm passing on to Lazzar. What would be your request or your advice to your first year So
yeah, so just working off this topic, I completely agree. I was just going to mention that imposter syndrome is definitely a real thing. And it's really easy to get lost in that. And that's something I struggled with this year a lot. And, the thing that I learned from that process, I wish I told myself, and, I know it's impossible to tell someone in a state of stress it's okay, everything will be fine. But yes, everything will be fine at the end, as we're mentioning here. And it's a hard thing to convince oneself of, but in an easier way to combat this, and as it was mentioned, is set reasonable expectations, not only for yourself, but also don't compare yourself to others around you. Everyone's doing their own research. Everyone's smart. It's okay. And you focus on yourself, and you're there to learn. You're a student first, right? It's not a competition. And that's something that very helpful to combat imposter syndrome, is everyone's on your team, and talk about it 100%. And that's something I wish, I could have told myself in the past, for sure, because it helps a lot. And I think another, obviously with COVID and everything being remote, I hear UBC's in person now, which is great to the most part. But I also understand the struggle of starting a new program remotely in general is intimidating. So it's easy to get lost in that. But, again, set reasonable expectations, and don't set expectations relative to your peers. Your peers are there to help you.
absolutely. And keep in mind, everyone has their own starting point. Like it's absolutely not comparable what you do in your research and personality and like your trajectory. Mega, what is the advice you would give yourself beginning of your PhD?
I have already mentioned good health. So I just want to, on the previous points that people just mentioned, I just want to mention that there's counseling center at UBC. Never hesitate going there. It was so they offer personalized sessions, 45-minute session. And I took one. I was so overwhelmed at one time. I took just one, but it helped a lot. And it was so simple, it's so smooth. You just go there, tell them if they have appointment, they will just allocate a professional to you. So I really encourage people to do that. I didn't know that, but then it helped. And then one tip I would like to give, and this tip has helped me always throughout my academic journey, go on student exchange. When I was in India, I went to Germany. I got another lead. That professor is very famous. And then I got my PhD at UBC, and now I'm at NYU. The experience has been so enriching, and I'm surprised that not a lot of people talk about it. Just go on student exchange. This is my personal tip. I have made I have expanded my network. It opens up more doors. You get out of your head, I think, when you do something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. My exchange in my master's got me my PhD here. So it's just easy as that. And it's I find lots of people think it's just a detour to their degree, but it's just enriches it 10 times on so many levels. So totally. And the resources at UBC are phenomenal when it comes to mental health. And there's also something called Here to Talk, I think is it called. This has changed a couple of times the name, but that's where you just can pick up the phone and call if you feel like talking to a professional. Are there any final comments or questions from the audience, or anyone else wants to add more to what has been said? Feel free to just unmute yourself or type something in the chat. We're all grad students here, and
maybe I'll just ask a quick follow-up question. So Mecca, so how did you find these exchange opportunities to go to other universities, and how did you convince your supervisor to just let you go there?
So I just got this tip in my undergrad from one of my professors. I was thinking about like staying back and publish a research paper. And he said, oh, come on, like, don't think about it. Just go and network with people, expand your network. So that's why I was motivated to apply when I was in India. And that like helped a lot. So I just keep looking for opportunities. So in health, if you're there, so there are opportunities like that. There are like joint programs even in UBC. Like there, I don't know, they have like 70 universities where they already have like these contracts. And the numbers I'm not sure, but yeah, there are a lot of universities. So you can go on like exchange. You can also take some courses there and things like that. So another thing, like how I convinced my supervisor, I don't know. I think I'm just lucky. Yeah. So luckily, like this thing, what I'm working on here, like it was part of my PhD. I was always interested on that, but like during my PhD, I never got a chance to work on that. Then I applied for a scholarship. So basically, no one is paying me, really, you know. So I have my funding. So that really helps. So apply for like scholarships. Then you can just do your own thing in a way, you know. So yeah, so whenever I have gone on like student exchange, I always had my own funding through scholarships. So there's like, yeah, I can just share some resources, like if people are interested. Yeah, but they are like very specific to like countries or like regions. I know about Germany. I might know some about like ECE and UBC. Yeah, please just send me some message, like if someone's interested.
Yeah, likewise here, like if anyone else wants to go to Germany, talk to me.
I have a question. Sorry, I missed a section in the middle, but I see just in the chat, Lazzar, you said you can take CPS 340 or 532M for grad credit. I'm currently enrolled in 340. Can I get grad credit for that?
So it's virtually the same course. You should. I remember enrolling for 340 and then just emailing, email chain with my supervisor and the department and getting just approved that that's okay. I think at UBC, you just have to get supervisor approval and then your supervisor will contact the department. But the easy route is taking 532M or whatever the grad equivalent is. And I don't remember. I think there is no difference in the content. I only think something about I think the project might have been weighted more or something of sorts like that, but I don't remember exactly. But
you ended up taking 340.
I ended up taking 532M. So I went through the process of approval of getting 340 fine for me to get credit. But then I ended up dropping it that term because I wanted to focus more on research. And then the year after that, I just got into 532M. But it's totally doable. It's totally doable.
Sweet. Okay, I'm in MEng. Do you think so I don't have a supervisor?
I see. Then contact the department. It should be fine.
Like the computer science department?
EC. Wherever program you're in.
They'll sort out.
Ahead.
Yeah. Okay, sweet. Awesome, appreciate it.
Yeah, just looking at the time, we have more time to stay here and chat, but like for the people that have to leave or like have other commitments, I'm just like thank you for the panelists to come out here and share all the knowledge. So thanks a lot, guys, for coming.
We have a question in the chat.
Yeah, I just want to say that like that was my gratitude to the panelists. We're still gonna track the question here. I think Lazzar can talk about this, and I think Mega maybe as well. Like, what is the contrast? The question is when you come from doing a master's at one school and then doing the PhD in a different school. Like, what is the major change you experienced? Lazzar or Mega, you guys wanna?
That's a good question. It depends on the schools. My experience was also I don't like and I struggle with online learning, and I never really struggled with learning in class before, so that took a toll on me to start with. But it depends what I would say your school that you're coming from is sort of known for, and that kind of builds different expectations. from my experience here, U of T's got a big artificial intelligence and ML scene. So the expectation for some courses in that area are much higher, or not much higher, but I noticed a little more requirement of mathematical theory, for instance, in something that was almost equivalent at UBC, a little simpler for a graduate level course. And then I think if this is what you're asking, and then also it depends on the school. Some schools might have different PhD requirements. For instance, here I had to take a qualifying exam as well as a comprehensive, whereas in the department at UBC and EC, you don't have to. So it's completely dependent on the program, I'd say, and what the department your PhD is in, but it's really hard to generalize to all schools. I think the only experience I can say is relative from my UBC master's and PhD. I don't know if you're also asking about benefits or stuff like that, but this
yeah, Lazzar, so thanks. That does answer the question. And I guess, maybe narrowing it down a little bit, is there any sort of like downside to just having all your education at one school like UBC?
I think that's also a tough question. So it depends also. So yeah. From my observations, for instance, at UBC, I notice a lot of professors. There's very few professors that did the PhD at UBC and then stayed at UBC if we're just talking about academics. So maybe someone else can comment on that if they also observe this or observe something different. But I've noticed at U of T, for instance, there's a handful of professors in the EC department and the computer science department that did their PhDs at U of T and undergrads. So again, dependent. And to push it, another observation I've made is if you look at schools like Stanford, MIT, Caltech and Berkeley, I've noticed that they do a similar thing where they either keep professors from their respective schools. I've also observed that, looking into that at one point. So it really depends. But the biggest thing, for instance, is building a network. So if you're capable of doing all 3 degrees in one school, but do a bunch of exchanges and internships, I don't think it really is an issue. I think it's kind of almost qualitative at the end of the day. And that's why it's a hard question. Maybe someone else can also weigh in.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, you like changing universities and countries and cultures and languages. It just adds a lot more to your plate, but also adds a lot more on your benefits, right? I mean, from my experience, like streamlining, running through one department is great in terms of that, the drills, you don't need to relearn, like there's no downtime. So you basically can go through and be really quick and efficient. But sometimes, the curves in life are the most exciting ones. So I certainly benefited from changing, traveling a lot, exchanging a lot, and then doing a PhD elsewhere. Helped also me with my fear of being an imposter, saying, okay, just because I was at one university, I'm not like good enough or something. So I just switched to see, okay, still holds being in another university. But yeah. Someone else wants to chime in, maybe?
Yeah, I have a very minor comment that may help out in answering this question. Let's say you finished your master's and you're gonna find yourself in front of the options: continuing the PhD with the same supervisor, mostly, or same university, going PhD to another place, and maybe actually think I was interested in PhD, but there's a job opportunity right there that I'd like to take. So it typically depends on the situation. So continuing in the same program with the same supervisor, you find yourself a little bit taking your master's thesis to start your PhD thesis right away. And what I noticed from people who do that, they usually finish PhD in faster time. However, if you finish your master's and you have at a certain university, you have a chance to go to a university with a higher ranking for your PhD. So, and this a little bit impacts you if you want to go pursue an academic career, because an academic career, you either teach at the university, at your university, or a lower ranked university. So if you took a jump from master's to PhD to a high ranked university, you have like a larger pool of universities to teach at. So it's a decision of, should I continue with the things that I got a little bit used to? I know how my supervisor likes things done. I almost got started on my research and I can wrap things faster. There are job opportunities in the place where the university are in my field. So in that case, I may decide, yeah, I would continue with the same operation, I would say. And as well, family decision may matter in this as well. On the other side, okay, I'm interested now to make use of the university I did master's at and make a jump into another higher ranked university for PhD, because it may open other opportunities. Like, for example, I would think of moving into California. Well, California is very expensive, but someone may say, I'm interested to go there, for example. I'm just to go to the east coast of Canada. I'm interested to go to Europe. Maybe this is another factor to decide. So this can answer like what is the compare and contrast between the two options in some way.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a multitude of options to choose from. But yeah, I think someone else wants to chime in as well.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention one quick thing. So I did my master's in, like, for example, Germany. So there's the distinguish if I have to do between like the PhD in Germany and PhD in like North America in general. So in like Germany, you get like your PhD in 3 years straight, like, you know, so that's the thing. So here PhDs are longer because you have to do like the comprehensive, so it's a process here. So in like at least Germany, I noticed that, you know, like it's pretty smooth, like you just do research. So if somebody is interested in finishing their PhD soon, maybe good thing to consider, apply for scholarships there, you know. Another thing that, again, factual thing in deciding, like the immigration for international students, especially, why should you do, for example, master's and then PhD from UBC? So one reason could be if you're interested in getting, for example, citizenship. So if you do like your master's, then after that you can apply for your PR. So if you do like for the next 4 years your PhD, you are eligible for citizenship. So within the duration of your PhD, you can get your citizenship, which is like crazy. So like if you're interested in that sort of stuff, yeah, sure. So just two very factual things.
Great, thank you. That was very informational. Thank you.
All right, I think we're clocking into the end. We have like 5 minutes to go. Is there any burning question that some people want to fire off? Or comments or? Okay, see if that's not the case. So yeah, thanks again to all the panelists and to you guys who show up. I hope this was informative, you learned something, and yeah, for the people that just started their degree here, like, welcome to UBC. You are in a good company, and yeah, everyone else, good luck with the rest of the degree. I hope to see you guys eventually in a Kaiser building, like running into each other. But yeah, let's see when that will happen. All right, have a good evening.